Wow, we did it. Impressive.
Guess what? Hey, your lighting looks fantastic.
It does?
It's better than before. Did you do something different?
Yes, the sun went. It's the sun. I don't
I
know.
look like I'm in like a refrigeration compartment of some kind. I look like I'm fucking in like a laboratory.
That's
Ronnie's
funny.
in warm.
Oh,
I'm like, what? Where
yeah.
am
That's
I? Okay.
better. It's golden
Is
right
this
here.
more golden? Okay, because Ronnie's in a gold light. I'm in
It's
like
like this gold. I'm in the golden hour, whatever you call it.
you are, and I'm in the back of a refrigeration truck. Okay, so everybody, welcome to the podcast. I have the most special guest I've ever had on the podcast, of any podcast I've ever done, because this is my second one. And welcome my dear friend and my fellow castmate, Ronnie, is here with me today. And I was going to say your last name, but I'm not really sure which one you're using now.
Um, Okay, we'll go with the one I use on social media, which is Stevenson.
Oh yeah, that's right, because in the show people would know you as Ronnie Negus.
That's right.
But now
And
you're
legally that is who I am, but I go by both.
I think we should just have you be Ronnie because Madonna does it. Why don't you do it? So
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Cher, Madonna, Ronnie, it works.
Yeah.
Let's just say Ronnie.
So I'm so excited that we are finally doing this together. We've talked about it for a couple months of doing this, and I'm just like so happy that we finally have gotten together to do this. And I know that a lot of people are going to wonder, where have Ronnie and Mary been for 10 years? Because literally, we've had some communication over the last 10 years, but not until recently had we actually been in the same room, gave each other a hug, and things started kind of rolling back to where we used to be
Yeah,
25 years ago.
right. I think it's been, well, yeah, no, maybe longer than that.
Has
I
it been
can't
longer
remember.
than that?
Well, I'm not sure. Somewhere in there. It's 20, 25 to 30. Could it be 30?
25 to 30 years ago. Well,
Wow.
as most people probably know who have watched The Real Housewives of Vancouver, Ronnie and I had a public breakup. Um, is it a breakup? I guess it is a breakup. I guess we had a breakup. Um, but we are now back to being friends again, and I think we never really stopped caring about each other, especially, I mean, from my perspective, I never stopped caring about you no matter what happened on the show. And so we want to get into a little bit of conversation about what happened on the show and how being on a show together like that can be very dangerous at times for relationships. So, I think one of the things that people are going to want to ask and is why now, and um, how we ended up getting together again. And I'd love to say it was for because we ran into each other and just wanted to reunite, but sadly enough, sometimes some of the most horrific, tragic things can happen. And Ronnie's son, Houston, passed away, and she called me the next day, and we spoke on the phone. And of course, everything that ever happened in the past regarding housewives or bad feelings went away from me. And as a mother and as one of your lifelong friends, I completely wanted to be there for you. And I know you've been through the most horrific experience that any parent could ever go through. And sometimes during those kinds of things that happen in life, people come back together again. And so I think that's what kind of started us the ball rolling again. Other than sometimes you did reach out to me a couple times when my mother passed away as well. So
Yeah, I
I'm
think
just
we've been through a lot in the last 10 years, but predominantly in the last 3 or 4 years. Your mother, she left us 4 years ago now, or has it been three
yeah,
years?
or
4 years, yeah. So I watched your journey on Instagram, and I know how much you loved your mother, and she was one of your very best friends, and you guys were so close. And you and I have always had a love for each other, and the show didn't help us, and it was a real sad ending, but we've always had that love for each other. And I remember when you lost your mom and reaching out to you, and then kind of I remember the floodgates kind of opened, and you were like, "Oh my God," and blah 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 blah. And I'm telling you, we were writing books to each other on
Yeah.
on Instagram, or was it text or whatever. And it was so nice to reconnect. And then I tragically lost Houston, and you were there for me, and we've both been through. It's just been unbelievable, really. And you just
Yeah.
recently lost your brother, so
And in 10 years, a lot can happen. And so much has happened in both of our lives in 10 years. And you grow so much. And all of our children have grown. And I had a son that got married. You're
yeah.
going to become a grandmother.
No, I can't believe it. I'm so
I
excited.
know, like what 10 years can do, right? So,
And I know whoever thought, right? Mary, we met each other 30 years ago, and here I'm expecting my first grandchild. Wow. And your son just got married, and wow, time
yeah.
just keeps moving on, doesn't it?
It really does. And you kind of look back at life too and think how ridiculous some things actually were that happened. Um, and I know that a lot of people want to know like certain things that happen in Housewives. Like I will just say that Ronnie and I have talked about this prior to coming on to do this podcast, and we don't want to dwell on the negativity of things that happened. Um, Throughout Housewives, both seasons, but we will make a mention of a few things and talk about a few things. But I mean, I guess everyone can understand if you're really good friends and you get cast on a show like that, there's so many outside things that can happen and influences. And, we had a pretty major character come in
Yeah,
between us on that show. And you can mention her name because you know what? I get heart palpitations when I mention her name.
I'm sure you do. Um, yeah, that was yeah, an interesting character. We'll call her that, an interesting character. Can I just also mention to anybody who's watching, I'm sitting in my daughter's bedroom. It's a strange place to be filming. Honestly, I feel like I'm just looking at the background, and I'm got a bed and all sorts of things. I'm in the middle of a construction. Our house is upside down next door, and my neighbor let us rent this house, and I'm sitting in Charlie's bedroom. So that's where I am. And where are you?
Well, I am in Sylvania, Ohio,
Right?
where I grew up, and I am in this hotel room. And let me tell you, this is not a five-star hotel room.
It looks
So it's
pretty
kind
nice.
of funny. It's freezing cold here, and I look like I'm in a refrigerator box of some kind. But it's hotel decor. It's all right. It's good.
Yeah, fantastic.
So we're not in the most glamorous of spots right now, although your Hermes blanket is nice. I have to say that.
Yeah, I like the H's. I like the H,
Yeah,
so
they look
it.
great. You and I have been chatting back and forth, and on text message and direct messages, but we only just saw each other. Was it last summer for the first time in West Van? I was sitting at the bar at the Cactus Club, and all of a sudden, these two hands come behind me, and
Yeah,
I was
and
like, "Who in the heck could that be?" And then I turn around, and
mhm.
it was you. And I just started. I think I started crying. I just burst out in like tears. It was so strange. It was just like I think all those memories and everything that had transpired over those 10 years and everything that you had gone through and what I had gone through and what you were going through at that particular time too. I just I just always like opened the floodgates for me, and I just was like, "Oh my God, it's my dear friend Ronnie." And like where are we now? It was one of those I'm getting emotional talking about it now. So everything that happened with Housewives just kind of went out the door. It was just kind of like not there anymore.
Yeah, we had a very long hug, and I do remember walking up from behind you and putting my hands over your eyes, and you were so surprised. I mean, it's crazy that we live in, Vancouver is a big city, but it's also a very small city. We all tend to know each other, and all of our travels on a daily basis, we had never ran into each other. So that's crazy in itself. But we had just now last summer, and then connected and started writing a lot to each other through Instagram and text and that sort of thing. So um, it's so good to be back, and I love you, and you've always been there
Yeah.
for me, and here we are.
You too. And this also came to mind. I was thinking about that a lot of fans didn't know our whole story. They knew we were friends and we were lifelong friends. It was 17 years. Now we're at 30. Um, but, just some of the stories of things that we shared together. When you had Remy, when I had Chad, you helped me name Chad because I was in a funk and named him. What did you say I named him? Because I said it was Connor, but it wasn't. I named him
You
some.
know,
What was
you
it?
and Carson.
Oh yeah,
You know,
I named him
yeah.
Carson, and I was in the
And then I
hospital.
said Chad would be a great name.
Yeah, so you actually named Chad because you dated a guy named Chad. Woody was a race car driver,
Hmm.
and was he a race car driver?
He was a NASCAR driver, and I was in love with him when I was 17 years old. And I remember you were in the hospital and you wanted another C name because of
Yeah,
the other boys. And I said, I don't know, what do you think? And you were saying, no, I don't know if I love Carson. And I said, what about Chad? And I think you just love Chad. So yeah, really, I did name Chad, didn't I?
yeah, yeah. You
Yeah.
did. You go. Every guy that I've ever known whose name was Chad was hot, and I'm
Yeah.
like, that's true. That is
Yeah.
true. So that's how Chad became Chad. The other story, which I love to tell, is when one of my kids had a birthday party. I think it was Chase, and I had hired somebody to be Spider-Man. They didn't show up, but I had went out and rented the costume. And then you came and you're like, I go, what are we going to do? There's no Spider-Man. I don't know anybody who's going to wear the costume. And you're like, I'll go put it on. I'm like, you're
I
going to put it on.
remember. Yes. Yes.
It was the best. And like nobody noticed that you were tall and that you had boobs.
And I
If
had
you had
boobs. None of the kids noticed.
but who does that? That's why, the fracture that happened during Housewives, I think, you still hold out a little bit of a torch of hoping that that all will go away. Being on a reality show changes a person too. I mean, people who have never been on one don't understand the demands and the I guess vulnerability of being on a show like that and being exposing your life and all the outside influences and um, I think certain characters were trying to become the bigger character or the more popular character, so they do things that are outrageous.
Hmm.
Um, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, we filmed 5,000 hours over the course of 4 or 5 months, and 11 hours make TV. So it's demanding. We have our own families and children, and regular actual real housewife things. We have errands, we have, we're cleaning our houses, we're taking our kids to school, we're living our lives, and then you add a lot of hours and interesting different people that again have their own agendas. And I think that we you know you're up against a lot of different personality types, and shit erupts, doesn't it? and
Yeah.
and it's a formula, and what they're looking for are the nitty-gritty parts. So of the 5,000 hours, they're not showing the moments that everybody, or the moments where we're getting along, or we're going to a doctor appointment, or we're doing some sort of charity. They're not really showing that stuff. They're going for the nitty-gritty stuff, and that's the stuff that people like to watch. So that's what they get. But you know I'm not quite sure what Jody's vendetta was against you. And I remember just asking you not too long ago, did something happen that like nobody knows
Yeah.
about? Did you guys have some task that
No, I mean, I didn't even know the woman. And she just had it out for me from the get-go. I mean,
yeah,
it was just, and
yeah, it
then
was,
Mia,
yeah,
then the daughter.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh, I mean, we should go through some of those funny things that happen on that. I mean, it was like literally sometimes I see the clips. I'll see clips. I know that there's some on TikTok and I, they're severe. You look at some of these clips and you're just like, oh
The
my
word
God.
severe.
Oh, I mean, the thing is about it is that we, like from the very beginning, they knew we were really close friends. And I think a lot of the characters on the show, particularly Jody, wanted to see that breakup. And as you said, you guys were both in West Van, so you ended up traveling a lot with her. And
Mhm.
I do remember going, "Why are you doing that with Jody?" And you go, "I don't know, because they have me going with Jody because of the car, or we have to be together because we're both in West Van." But I
Yeah.
think she had a plan, man. I think she had a
Yeah, it
plan.
was, I always thought it was sort of unfortunate for me that she liked me and never wanted to go up against me. For some reason, it was like Ronnie, Ronnie
I
so
know.
amazing. Oh my God. But
I like
uh,
you, Ronnie. I
and
like you.
I had never met Jody in my life, and I've only seen her twice in restaurants, and she kind of gave me a dirty look and ran out. But since we've finished filming, what people
You
don't know,
literally never run into her?
never, never, I've never. So,
Isn't that weird?
but for the people that might be watching this podcast, and for people around the world, because I think our show aired in about 14 or 15 different countries. What they don't know is that Vancouver is separated by a big bridge called the Lionsgate Bridge. And Jody and I live on one side of the bridge, and some of the other girls, Mary, you lived on the other side. So production would always have a limousine show up for me, or sorry, Jody and myself, and people would see us arrive at most all events or parties together, and therefore we must be very, very best friends. So that was unfortunate because it kind of already puts you in a box, right? And then the
Yeah.
fact that she liked me so much. It oh my God. Did not, it wasn't good for me and it didn't work to my advantage. But at the end of the day, like whatever, who cares? So I have not seen her, and I couldn't
So
tell you.
weird that you haven't seen her though. I think she still lives in the city. I mean, I think I was at a restaurant one time and heard she was there and I ran out the other door. Like, I don't even want that to be even I don't want that energy in my sphere. You know,
Yeah,
I just
still
it's
has
just
her glass house though. Um, I
people in
was,
glass houses shouldn't throw stones.
they
Well,
should not.
stop buying stuff. Stop putting Botox and into your face. Start looking after yourself internally. Don't buy shoes. Don't buy handbags. Go see a shrink.
Do you have any regrets? What would you do differently? Like if
Uh,
you were to do it again, or just repeat last, not do it again. But what would you have done differently?
I don't know, probably the whole show. I would have done the whole thing differently. Um, I can barely watch it. I don't like to watch our show at all, and I don't like how it unraveled. I don't really like how it's portrayed, and you know, it was predominantly about me and drinking, and I think I was a little villainized, which is not fair because that's not who I am. And uh I think in hindsight, sure, would I have done a lot of things differently? Yeah. But we don't know what we're doing, and we go into these things blindly, and we do the very best we can, really. And we don't know how they're going to spin it. And we don't know how, production has that magic editing wand. And so no matter really what you do, they're going to put on the show that they want. So
Yeah.
we feel, like I said, so many hours, and they air their story, right? And I remember a lot of times thinking, okay, well, how does this work when we first started filming? And you'll recall they would say, okay, well, can you have lunch with Jody tomorrow? at such and such a place, like let's say at Hawksworth Restaurant.
Yeah.
And so you would meet your person at lunch or dinner or wherever, and then they would say the words, we'd like you to touch on. So we'd like you to touch on means talk about. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not real reality. Somebody's not calling me saying, I'd like you to have lunch with Mary tomorrow, and I'd like you to talk about this. Obviously, that's not our reality, but it's the show. And I mean, do I regret parts of it? Of course, but in hindsight, I think that life is a big mystery and adventure, and we live life and we learn along the way. And in many ways, it was a fabulous platform. And I've been able to now, with the Instagram handle that I have for Houston, I'm starting to raise a lot of awareness about
Yeah.
mental health and men's mental health predominantly. But there are some good things that came out of it.
I agree. I agree. For me, like regret wise, I I think I didn't really speak my mind as much as I would. I think in retrospect, I was kind of shocked most of the time. I remember going, "What did she just say?" Like I freaking can't even believe she just said that. And also in the back of my mind, I always was worried about my kids. And I was always like, I don't ever want them to go to school and be embarrassed because their mother said something that would get them teased or, something that would be, I'm their role model. I never wanted to say anything that would, I don't know, be something that wasn't parental or polite or those kind of things. And I think I could have still done that, but maybe said more that what was on my mind. And I think that's a big regret for me that I didn't really, I could have handled things probably differently with more humor. I didn't really get to show that side of me because I was always feeling like I was on the defensive. Um, so I have that. But the biggest regret I have is that show actually fractured our relationship. That's a big regret to look back on and think that, no matter how it happened, we allowed it to happen. So,
Yes, I know. I do have to
know,
say one thing, it just popped into my head. Okay. For
what?
the record, for everybody out there, Mary and I have never slept together ever.
That is true. That
Never,
is true.
never ever have we
I don't
slept
even know
together.
how that rumor started.
Well, no, it's because I'm not going to say who it was in production, but somebody in production whispered into my ear, you and Mary, wouldn't that be a good conversation piece? Say you slept together, say you slept together. And I was just like, yeah, cowboy, like, cowboy with a gun. Sure, okay. Yeah, Mary and I slept together. What?
Yeah, I never
Why
knew where
would I
that
have
came from.
ever, why would I have ever allowed somebody to convince me to say something like that? So
Well,
you
that's a perfect
stuff like,
example of how you can get carried away when you're on a reality show. Like, especially, like, we had no idea. And then you got the call before I did that you were on the show. And
Mhm.
then you called me and you go, they called me. I'm like, they did. You're like, I'm on the show. They said you're a cast member on the show. And I'm like, well, they didn't call me. So I guess maybe I didn't get on. And then it was like a half an hour later or something, they called me. And then we were like, oh shit, now what? We're both on the show. Now what?
Oh, I
But
remember they called me and I said, okay, well, thank you very much, but I could never really do that, right? And I can't remember the guy's name. You might remember. Anyway, I can't remember this guy's name who was the person who called. And I said, I really could never ever do this show. I just got a bubble
why
with a
did you
thumb.
get that bubble?
Did you just see that?
Did I do that? Oh, did you just do that? Then you got a bubble?
How did that happen? Anyway, so that was kind of cool. I just got
That
a,
was very cool.
yeah, I
Hi,
just got a thumbs
Houston.
up.
Hi, Houston. Okay.
Houston. So I said, I could never really do that show. And they said, well, and I remember word for word, we would be so heartbroken if you didn't. And I said, well, I'm very sorry to break your heart, but I can't do this show. And I remember going back several days, back and forth with them, and they were like, no, 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 you've got to do this show. And I was like thinking, oh, no, I'm not doing that show. And then I called a very good friend of mine and I said, you know, this has been presented. I don't think I can do this because they're going to say things about me, that aren't true, and they're going to portray, you know, all of us. They're going to spin us in some form of a bad light so they can get ratings and they can make their show. And he said these words that kind of changed my course of action. And he said, are you going to let what other people think about you or say about you dictate your own life experience? This is your life. This is an experience that the universe has presented to you. And I thought about that for a while. And I thought, yeah, no, you know what? This has come into my life. It's, you know, I believe that things are meant to be, you know, things
Yeah.
happen in our lives. And I thought I'm just going to take a leap of faith and okay, I'll do this. Yeah, this was presented. I don't know. There were apparently like 4,000 girls that applied for this for Real
Yeah.
Housewives of Vancouver, and there were only 6 of us who were called. So I thought, well, you know what? For whatever reason, this has been presented to me. It's my life. This is my journey. And okay, yeah, I'm not going
Yeah.
to let the other people think about me or things that they say dictate my own life experience. But, you know, certainly those things do start to wear on you. You know, you
Yeah.
read and you see things, and we're only human. And I'll tell you, if we do go back on the Real Housewives, because there is rumor swirling that it could come back, um, I don't think I will ever read ever again comments. And I remember watching Ellen DeGeneres, and she said, never, ever, ever read. She goes, I never read good or bad. She said, you don't need to know what those type people think
Yeah,
about.
it's pretty damaging. It's
It can
pretty
be,
damaging.
and like I said, we're human beings, right? So, I
And
mean,
when
I'm
we did it, the only thing going on was Twitter at that time. I
that's
think
right.
Instagram had started like maybe the
Long ago or long after.
I think they wanted the dynamic of us having been friends for a long time. That was a really unique thing, and I
Mhm.
think they counted on that. I don't know what they thought behind the scenes. Was it that they thought, oh, okay, we're gonna see if these two can stay friends? Was it? I don't know that it was so much production, but I feel like Jody very much had it in to try to break that up. I think that was part of her.
What was that? I remember at the tea party. I do remember something about the tea party. She said, um, Ronnie, wait, what was it? Let me think for a second here. She said, because it's been what, like 11 years. I got to go back in my memory bank.
The
She said,
freaking tea party. Oh.
she said, um, "Ma- either I had something on you or you had something on me. Mary's got something on Ronnie. I think it was that. I think it was that
And
way.
that's why you still won't like
And
kick her
that's,
to the curb or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, like that's that, like you
Talking about.
really weird. I don't know. She did not like our friendship or our union whatsoever. And the best, I think the very, very, very best episode we ever had, and I bet you can agree, was season 1 finale, where we all went up against Jody and we all clinked our glass. And I don't know if it was you or Reiko said, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. We were
I
talking
think
about
it was
Mary,
me.
or sorry, we were talking about Jody and her daughter,
Yeah.
but
I think
that,
that was me.
that, that was a great episode. That was a great ending. It was a
It
fabulous finale.
was a great, great
Yeah,
ending. I
yeah.
mean, season one, like it's so much a blur for me, season one, because I think I was still in a state of shock about
Mhm.
so much of it. But
Yeah.
in season two, um, we had a really cool, funny moment that we shared up in that tower, and what are the CN Tower, or what? I think we had lunch up there or something. And you
Yes.
and I were like answering you're like, I don't like the way that you talk to me, young lady. And I go, well, I don't like the way that you talk to me either. And you were like, Mary Elizabeth Zilba. You said my
Did I?
full
I don't
name.
think
Yeah,
I
you said
said
my
young lady. I don't think I said young lady, but I do remember saying something like, everything I said, you're like, I would say something like, I don't like the way you talk to me. And you would say, I don't like the way you talk to me. And I'd say something, and you'd say something right back. And then I'd say something, and you'd say,
That's what you
Then
want to
let
do.
me.
You
Then
want
let
to-
me tell you
Listen,
how I feel.
Let me tell you.
Okay,
Listen,
and then I'll
young
tell you
lady,
how
I
I
don't
feel.
like the way you
Don't you talk to me like that.
No, don't you talk.
Don't you
Don't
dare
go there with me.
be-
I don't like the way you
I don't
talk
like the
to
way
me.
you talk to me.
You're rude, and you don't
say
really.
something. And I remember going, Mary, it was just awful. It was crazy. And at the very end, I don't know how we made up again.
We started laughing.
And then,
We were in the middle
and then
of it.
production said to me after we made up, because see, it wasn't going according to their storyline, because we weren't supposed to make up, and we did, because we've always loved each other. I remember, and I can't say the name, but I remember production saying to me, you didn't really want to make up, did you? And then they started telling me a bunch of lies that you said about me. And
Is
she
that
said,
why the next day we met and you go, I think I'm going to take a break from you. And I go,
yes,
what?
yeah,
I still didn't know this. You're telling me something I've never heard before.
yes.
Like I literally was like,
I'll tell
what
you
is
after this podcast who that was. I'll tell you.
So somebody actually said to you, and I
You didn't
remember I
want to make
walked
up
off that
for
set
it.
right then and there. I
Yeah,
left.
yeah, yeah. I remember being at that dinner the next day, and Jody saying something like, look at Ronnie, look at her. She's like a flatliner. A flatliner? What the hell? I don't know what she's, I don't know what she's talking about. But I do remember another great time, and that was or a scene that we had, and I don't know if it was great, but Amanda was giving us a bunch of bathing suits at the Blue Water, and she decided to just attack me. And I go, come on, Mary. And you go, come on. And Robin ran after us, and we all left. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do remember that. Like
Yeah.
that was Amanda. Like I don't even know anything. Do you, speaking of Amanda, do you ever see her? Do you know what's happened to her? Like,
I've not, no, zero.
do you
I,
speak? Who do you speak to still? I
you
know you speak to. I
you
don't
and
really.
you and Robin.
Oh, it's
That's
just
it.
not Yulia or.
Yep. Yulia messaged me out of the blue. Haven't seen or spoke to her in years and years and years. And uh said, hey, big sister. Hey, big sister, how are you? I'd like to visit or talk. And I said, absolutely. I'm always here. And then I never heard back from her. I have no idea whatever happened to Amanda. Who else was there?
Oh, what about Reiko?
Rico. I've talked to her a little bit, and but not a lot. And I think she's selling real estate right now. And Robin has been there during the Houston stuff, and has always been amazing. And then there's Christina, and I've seen her just little bits and pieces. So
Yeah, I know. I've talked to Christina. I had her on the podcast like 3 years ago. I went to
yeah.
South Carolina and I met
Oh
with
my
her in her
gosh.
house there. I flew there.
Wow.
I think it's 4 years ago, maybe when I had that other one. But yeah, so she was Christina. Yeah, she's hysterical. Um she's a free spirit, you know.
Yes.
You really can't
Yes.
describe her in any other way than a free spirit, and she's funny. And I think she's back in Vancouver. I think.
Okay. As a matter of fact, I remember after, we lost Houston, and
Mm.
uh, I had been sober for quite a while, and then I wasn't. And yeah, we had so many family members here for a month, and there were about 20 of us, and we were, everybody, not just me. I mean, everybody were drinking from the minute they woke up till the minute they went to bed,
Oh,
like from.
I'm sure.
But I remember calling Christina and saying, I'm just really, really struggling with Houston. And I was crying on the phone with her, and she was so beautiful, and she opened up her heart, and she was, uh, I remember that call, and I don't know what compelled me to pick up the phone and call Christina, but she was, her heart, she's got that beautiful, soothing voice, she's,
Yeah. Yeah,
um,
she does.
got it. She was so there for me, and I will not forget that. So Christina was great. And um, again, going back to Jody, have never seen her except for twice, I think. Once at the dentist,
Saw her
And
at the dentist?
no, sorry, it wasn't the dentist, it was at the doctor, and, they were in the waiting room, Mia and her little boy. Did she have a little boy? I think it was a little boy. And, they ran out, and then once it was at a restaurant, and they saw me and they ran out, so, yeah.
The world works in mysterious ways and God works in mysterious ways too, right? So sometimes it's like I said, some bad things can bring people together too in the worst of times. And I know we don't want to go, I don't want to go deeply into it because I know that we're going to talk about it in a much deeper level. In the next podcast, we're going to have a grief expert on, you and I, and we're going to talk to, I think he's a friend of yours, about what happened with Houston. And like I said earlier, and I'll repeat now, it's like what you've gone through. I've seen you now be the most inspiring, courageous human being, one of the most that I've ever seen. Have how you've handled yourself with this because it's the worst tragedy that a parent can go through. And I know that you have so much to say about it, not only from your own journey, but also in helping other people. And I know you want to do that. And you've just kept his memory alive, and you're doing so much. You've got a foundation for Houston, and I know I'm going to let you talk about that, obviously, for whatever you want to share. But if you want to touch on it now, you feel free to. I know we'll go into it a little bit further in the next
Yeah,
episode.
I'm looking forward to talking about that on our next episode, so I'll save that stuff. But yeah, it's it's the I think the worst thing that could ever happen to a human being, and there's not been a day that has gone by since the 4th of July that I have not thought about Houston, and I think that I will think about him every single day until I take my last breath.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
miss him severe. It's really bad. And I've been traveling the globe, and I mean the first year I was on a plane, and I was all over the place, and I took his DNA with me. I was so lucky to preserve that. And um you know you 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 just find ways to keep going, and you have no choice. You have no choice, and so you put one foot in front of the other. And for me, I've tried to not sit idle, because in those moments, or when and like I said, grief is not linear, and it comes and it goes, and some days you have a greater handle on it, and some days you completely just fall apart. You can hear a song, or you can watch an Instagram video, or you can see a photo, or you can even a scent, you remember. Or I'll drive by, Houston's house sometimes, and sit outside and just cry. I'll just sit there and cry. But you know, I'll save a lot of the Houston stuff for our next podcast, because
Yeah.
it's it's a lot.
It's a
It's
lot, and it's nice that we'll be able to have on, what is his name, the expert that you
His his name is James Skinner. I call him Dr. Jim, and he knew Houston very well, and he had worked with our entire family. And after we lost Houston, he was very instrumental. He's lovely. I think you're really, really going to like him. So he's got a lot of wisdom, and I love that he knew Houston so well, and he worked with Houston. When I know that I'll talk to him sometimes, and he'll say, yeah, Houston used to do this or that, or he'd say this, and I'd be like, I just get a smile on my face when I hear
Yeah.
Houston.
Well,
Yeah.
I look forward to meeting him, and I know that other people who also are grieving in whatever way that, people who have lost people in their lives. I mean, I think it's going to be an important episode, and I know that you want to share a lot about that and also help other people um, in their grieving process because you've talked about that a lot,
Yeah.
um, especially on your Instagram, and I know that you're always trying to keep his memory alive. And I just, I just want to say that I am so inspired by it. I really am, and I know how courageous you are. And
Thank you. And
can't
in
imagine.
concluding with Houston, just for now, until our next podcast or my next podcast with you. I just wanted to say that I have been asked by numerous people, and I've had, lots of different magazines and people ask to do podcast and interviews. And I did do a sort of a small something called I Am Here With magazine that featured Houston, but you are the very first person that I've accepted a podcast or an interview or anything of that sort pertaining to Houston. I
Wow,
have
thank
not
you. I feel
wanted to
honored.
open up. I have not been ready to open up. And so uh yeah, you're the first time I will have opened up about Houston publicly on a podcast. So
Well, I
it's
feel
really great
honored
that
that you,
that's with you.
well, thank you. I feel honored that, and I knew Houston from very young. I think he was like 3 years old
Yeah.
when I met Houston.
Yeah. And he used to spend the night at your house, and
Yeah,
boys used to spend the night with us, and we have such so much history between us.
so much. You know, when I think about time, I think about Jody going, Mary, you're 50. I was like 48 at the time. Now I just would like to hear her say that.
I
Mary, you're
Yeah,
going to be
right.
50. I'm like,
I
yeah,
know.
I'm going to start saying that to myself now. The time just goes by so quickly. Like, where did
Like,
10 years freaking go? You know?
where did that go?
I don't
Where did
know.
that? When you
Speaking of
think
10
about it.
years, I have a
Yeah.
question, and I think that we should probably bring this up because I think there's a rumor going around. Did you hear the rumor? There's a rumor going around
Yes, I
10 years
did.
later.
Yes, I
What do you
did.
think about this rumor?
Well, I think that there's a good possibility that they may bring the Real Housewives of Vancouver back. So um, I
Why did I
think
just get a bubble? I just got a, did you see that?
you got a bubble?
I got a bubble with a thumbs up.
Great. Did you see my bubble?
I saw yours. How come I got a bubble? Oh, does that mean the show's coming back?
Oh,
Well,
that
there's
means
a rumor the show's coming back, and I just got the thumbs up, but who knows?
okay. Okay, so well,
So
there
if
you
it
go.
comes back, if there is a
Yes.
rumor going
Yes.
around that um, they might want to bring the Real Housewives of Vancouver back.
Right.
Now, if that is true,
Mhm.
Ronnie, Holly, Negus, Stevenson, would you, what do you think about that?
I think I would never do it again. I'm kidding. Um, I know people out there might be going, "Oh my God, I can't believe you would do it again." But here's the truth. The truth is that I would definitely want to do it again. And the reasons are um, that I would really like to do a Netflix miniseries called The Houston Stevenson Story. Mental health is such a huge thing, and I'd like to bring awareness about that. And Jordan's got a few things he'd like to plug into the show, and I'd just like to do it. You know the ins and outs now, and I'm in such a different place in my life. Like I'm in a b- besides losing Houston, of course, which is the worst thing, and I could never be in a I can't even say I could ever be in a great place in my life. I hope one day, the sun will shine again, and slowly the sun is starting to shine again a little bit. But I'm in a different place in my life, and I feel like um, I'd like to kind of give this another go. What about you?
Well, I feel like you do. Like, I'd be like, am I crazy to even consider going back into the cesspool of the housewives again? But I think I would consider doing it again and being more relaxed about it,
Mhm.
knowing what I know now and
Okay,
how everything kind of operates.
okay,
Um, and I would, I think you and I doing it again together might be one of the considerations I would really give it the most credence because I feel like we need Ronnie Mary 2.0. We need to try this
Yeah.
again,
Well, I
older,
think that
wiser.
people want to see that. As a matter of fact, people love us together. And, you know, as much as people like to see other people fall, people love to see you get back up. And that's
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes you lose faith in the human race. And then sometimes you look at people and you think there's so much good because people want to see us succeed. People
yeah.
want to, and I'll tell you what, there's no reason why you and I are coming back a powerhouse. And you know, true love never dies, honey. We've been through it all. We've been through the trenches together. We've been up and we've been down, but here we are, and we've always found
Yeah,
our way
and we
together.
answer each other's questions, or I mean,
Oh,
or sentences.
yeah.
Oh, by the way, here's something really interesting. What, do you carry one of these around anymore?
Yep. I do actually have two. Here's another one.
Remember, it was like, oh my God, we always just carry lip gloss at all times together. We always carry a lip gloss, and now I don't even carry a purse.
I
I
hate
just
purses.
carry, I hate them too. I don't even use them anymore.
Credit card and lip gloss. That's all you need.
That's it. What else do you need? Definitely need the
I'm
credit
kind
card.
of a guy. I feel like I'm a guy because why do I need to lug around a great big bag on my shoulder all day long? What for?
No,
I
I
just
can't do it. I can't do
I
it.
put my lip gloss and my credit card in my pocket and away I go. I
And
like it.
away you go. I know, I love it. So I think that, us like going back and just being who we are, 10 years older, not going to take any shit from anyone anymore. I just,
Wiser, right?
much wiser, I think. And we're in a different place in our lives. Like, yeah, like I got it. We did a lot then, if you think about it. Our kids were still growing up, and now, it's like I have a new boyfriend. Like, that's kind of different, isn't it? I didn't have a
Yes, that's
boyfriend on
right.
the show.
David.
I've got
And,
David,
and you
um,
guys have been together for how long?
5 years.
Okay. I thought it was
Oh,
longer. Okay,
it
five
is a
years.
little over 5. It is a little over 5, but yeah, but he's an actor. So he said to me once, you know, I hate reality TV. He goes, I almost didn't go out with you because you were on a reality TV show. And I was like, well, I understand that. I
Yeah.
kind of get that. From what I've read, from what I've been told, like they're evolved a little bit from when we were on. They're not as, I think, all about the wealth anymore like they used to be. Like they're a little bit more about like real life. And
Hmm.
um I don't think it's hoity-toity as it used to be.
Okay.
Like I heard that there's somebody in Orange County that lost, like it has 5 kids, lives on by herself, lost her husband and she split up, and she doesn't have hardly any money, but she's a really popular character. And I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Well,
So
there was that poor Grandy Melville. Brandy Melville. Not Grandy, Brandy.
Glanville,
Brandy. What's her name? What is her name? Brandy?
Brandy
Brandy?
Glanville.
Uh, so something I think just happened to her. I don't know, some facial issues and
I saw that on
yeah,
Instagram.
yeah. And
Horrible.
somebody said something like, why don't you, you know, comments are so cruel. And I always go to the comments. Whenever I see a crazy Instagram something, I go straight to the comments
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I the comments. And this person said, why don't you get plastic surgery? And she said, people are asking me why I don't. She goes, I can't afford plastic surgery. Weren't these people wealthy at one time? Like, what?
I thought they were getting like 500,000 an episode or something.
Something crazy like that. And she said she couldn't afford plastic surgery, but I don't know what happened to her, but I recently just saw that.
Wow. I know it's something that, yes, I don't know if it's something she
You know
took.
what it was?
What was it?
I
I
think,
don't know.
You know what it was, Josiah?
yeah, I think, well, she claims that she might have a parasite in her
Oh,
face.
she has a parasite in her face.
But
What?
that's what a doctor told her.
I've
but
never
I
heard of
think-
such a thing.
I think it might have been dissolved filler and she can't afford to fix it also. That's another theory. But she doesn't, she
Wow.
claims she doesn't know. But it's really
No,
sad.
I think there could be a parasite in her face, possibly because I've seen a show on Netflix, a documentary about these parasites that can go in your brain. They can go all over the place. I
Really?
mean, you could be, yeah, you could be
Oh my
swimming
God.
in the river in India and get parasites in your ears. I don't know, shit. I mean, who knows? But
Well,
that's,
we need to be careful with you because you've been traveling all over the world in some really unique places, which brings
I've
me
had
to,
parasites. I've had parasites, but I used ivermectin and I used that long ago. I've traveled all over the world to exotic locale and you're bound to eat a piece of fruit or something and or
yeah.
step on the sand and something
But
bite.
having a parasite live in your your intestine is one thing, but to have it living in your face,
Yeah,
that's really
that's
horrific.
uh, it sure is. Anyway, let's pray for her.
I think Ronnie and I should just do our own talk show. And we are both in search of finding our loved ones who have passed on.
Yes.
And I know you've done this before, and I think this would be a great time for us, housewives or no housewives,
Mm.
um, to go in search of finding the answers. And I think one of the things that you've already done, I want to do with you,
Mhm.
because it's one of the craziest stories I've ever heard, and to actually see what Ronnie put into a text message to me about her experience with ayahuasca.
Yes, I think
Dude, I got to tell you something. I read that and I wrote back to you. I cannot respond right now. I need to digest what you have
yeah,
just written to me. It's so
right.
deep. So
Yeah.
tell about the ayahuasca. I want just as much as you can. You don't have to go all in.
On my healing journey, which I'm still on and I will always be on, but I'm searching for some answers and healing and peace. And I went down to Costa Rica and I went to a phenomenal place called Soltara. And I really researched different places and I found that this was the place I wanted to go. And I really hit that out of the park because some places have 60 to 80 people and some places have like 3 or 4 and Soltara's group are 17 to 21 and that was a perfect amount for me, not too many and not just like a couple people. So I went down and it was absolutely, it's life altering. I call it alien potion. It's like something you can't even really put into
Isn't
words
that
or
like frog venom or something like that? Don't you
I've
drink
done
like,
that too. I've done that.
oh,
That's
that's
called
not the same thing? It's a different.
no, that's different. And I've done 5-MeO DMT, which is the strongest psychedelic known to man. That's extraordinary intense. And so in Soltara or at Soltara, which is in Costa Rica, you're in a beautiful a dome called a maloca. And there are mats all around the maloca, and the facilitators are in the middle, and it's all candlelit, and it's the uh Shipibo people come in from Peru and they don't speak English and they sing echoes, which help you vomit. They call it vomitivo. And that is really the purge, is where you are releasing trauma and anxiety and negative energy and all of the
Sweet.
stuff that needs to come up. But I absolutely could not speak higher volumes about the ayahuasca. I'm going back down in October. So I went down and I did 4 sessions uh, on a 7-day sort of.
How can you do do you feel sick doing so many? Can your body handles doing it so many times?
So
Ayahuasca?
yeah, the first night you do sort of just an introductory.
Oh, okay. So it's what you wrote to me about the first cup, and then you did 2 more cups, and then you did 3 cups.
So you can take
Okay.
as much as you want, but I didn't go down there to just kind of, feel it out. I really wanted to cross the veil and maybe connect with Houston and heal. And I was there on a mission and for a purpose. So some people are very afraid and they'll only take like a cup. I was
Yeah,
drinking a lot. And so then it was so amazing. I went by myself
you
and met
did.
people I'd never met from all over the world. And I came home and I said to Russell and Jordan, I said, we're going back. And 3 weeks later, I was on an airplane with Russell Jordan and a friend of ours, Jeff Natland. And we went down there, and Russell still says to this day it was the most profound thing he's ever done.
Okay, well, you and I was going to go with you in October, and then
October,
no,
okay.
November, was it Thanksgiving time? I was going to go
Yes.
home.
Remember
Yeah.
I said you want to do it.
Yeah, I do want to do it with you. I really want to do it. Like, I'm ready to do it. The only thing I've ever, of course, I've smoked pot many times, but I've only tried mushrooms once.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everybody around me was seeing beautiful lights, and I'm like, I see nothing. Like, nothing is happening for me. Why isn't anything sparkling? I'm seeing nothing.
Mary,
And
you probably mushroom that, you know, you bought at Safeway or something.
totally. I'm
You
like,
know,
I
eating
don't know
right.
why. So I got to be like you. I cannot take a little bit of, I'm going to have to, I can't just take a little because I'm not going to see the,
So I think you can't be afraid, and you have to surrender. Maybe this is a Real Housewife episode, right?
yeah, we go to Costa Rica and go to ayahuasca.
Yeah, and go do ayahuasca.
I'm
So
so down
I
for it.
do want you to do that with me. I really do. I think that
Yeah.
would be amazing. And I think that, you know, for you and your healing and your losses with your mom and your brother, it would be really good for you.
Honey, well, I think I just want to say that I've loved this conversation. And next time when I get to Vancouver, let's get back together and do something in person.
And you look absolutely gorgeous, by the way.
Oh,
You look so
thank you.
pretty. You look
Thank
better
you.
now than you did 10 years ago. So do I.
Well,
I look
because I wear turtlenecks at all times.
great, Mary, when we look at those TikTok things. What the hell?
Dude,
I'm
why
serious.
are they so close up?
I don't know, but you know, I look back at those and I think I look like I was a 68-year-old woman and I was 43. I don't know. But anyway,
We both look better
you
now,
look
we
great.
said.
You look great.
Thank
You
you.
look so
So do
good.
you. Thank
And I
you.
love your cute little top.
My cute little
I
top.
wish
Well,
I
I need.
was in Ohio with you right now. Wouldn't that be fun?
Oh my God, you would love it here. You could
I
come
would
sleep
love
in
it
my.
there.
You could come sleep in my childhood bedroom.
Childhood bed. Yeah.
Very, very commentary.